303 What really happened after the laughter faded, when the cameras stopped and the audience moved on? Where did the cast go next? The Big Bang Theory didn't truly end, it pushed its stars into very different paths, filled with risks, reinvention, and hard choices. Now let's find out where the cast is today and how their lives changed after the show ended. Laura Spencer. Laura Spencer's path to success was never loud, flashy, or built on overnight fame. It was quiet, disciplined, and steady, and that is exactly why it has lasted. Born on May 8, 1986 in Oklahoma City, Laura Spencer developed a passion for acting early and pursued it seriously. She studied theater at the University of Oklahoma, graduating in 2008 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. There were no shortcuts. She worked, trained, auditioned, and waited for the right opportunity. That opportunity arrived in 2013 when she joined the Big Bang Theory as Emily Sweeney, a dermatologist drawn into Rauch Kuthrapalli's complicated love life. The role was originally written for just one episode, but audiences responded to Emily's unexpected mix of warmth and darkness, sweet on the surface yet fascinated by horror films and emotional intensity. What was meant to be brief turned into a multi-season run with Spencer remaining on the show through season 10. At the same time, she accomplished something few actors manage without burning out. While appearing regularly on The Big Bang Theory, Spencer was also recurring on Bones as Jessica Warren from seasons 9 to 12. Balancing two hit network series with very different tones required precision and stamina, and she handled both without controversy or complaint. Her rise, however, began even earlier in the digital space. Before primetime television, Spencer gained recognition through The Lizzie Bennet Diaries, a modern social media-driven adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. The project won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Creative Achievement in Interactive Media, and Spencer later credited the experience with teaching her how storytelling was evolving and how audiences wanted more intimacy and authenticity. After her time on mainstream television, Spencer resisted the temptation to chase fame. Instead, she chose range. In 2021, she appeared in 13 Minutes, a tense drama centered on a deadly tornado and the human stories caught inside it. Her role as Vicky allowed her to explore heavier themes including immigration and reproductive rights, signaling a clear shift toward socially conscious material. By 2024, Spencer continued that trajectory with guest appearances on Grey's Anatomy in the episode If Walls Could Talk and on Reservation Dogs, a critically acclaimed series known for its cultural depth and emotional honesty. The pattern was unmistakable. She gravitated toward projects with meaning, not just visibility. By 2025, Laura Spencer had fully settled into her professional identity. She was no longer chasing breakthroughs or long-running contracts. Instead, she became highly selective, favoring limited appearances and character-driven stories over constant exposure. Casting directors now saw her as a reliable, thoughtful performer, someone who brought credibility the moment she appeared on screen. Off-camera, her life remained just as controlled. She married Michael Jack Greenwald in 2019 and chose to live largely outside the Hollywood spotlight. Friends describe her as grounded and deliberate, more interested in the work itself than the noise surrounding it. In 2025, she also became increasingly involved in arts education and community-based initiatives supporting young performers without publicizing her efforts. Laura Spencer's story doesn't explode, it accumulates. A role meant for one episode becomes years. A supporting character becomes memorable. And while others chase headlines, she builds something quieter: longevity. Kevin Susman. Kevin Susman never looked like someone destined for sitcom immortality, and that ironically is exactly why his story works. Long before audiences knew him as Stuart Bloom, Susman was just another struggling actor in Los Angeles, auditioning by day, working at a real comic book store by night. It wasn't a metaphor, it was survival. Hollywood didn't hand him shortcuts, and fame wasn't part of the plan. Acting was. When The Big Bang Theory premiered, fate played a quiet trick. Susman was originally cast as Howard Wolowitz, but a prior commitment to Ugly Betty forced him to walk away. The role went to Simon Helberg, and history changed. Years later, Susman returned in a smaller part, Stuart, the awkward, perpetually unlucky comic book store owner. What began as a background character slowly turned into one of the show's most oddly beloved figures. Stuart wasn't heroic, he wasn't successful, he was anxious, broke, and painfully human. and audiences recognized themselves in him. After The Big Bang Theory ended in 2019, many expected Susman to struggle under the weight of such a recognizable role. Instead, he did the opposite. He disappeared into serious television. He took on dramatic parts in Better Call Saul, playing Mr. Kubi's associate in a tightly wound legal world, and later appeared in the Dropout Hulu's dramatization of the Theranos scandal, where he portrayed Mark Rosler. These weren't flashy roles, but they were precise, and they proved something important: Susman wasn't a sitcom leftover. He was an actor. Comedy never left him, though. He reunited with former castmates on Call Me Kat and landed a recurring role in Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV+, effortlessly shifting between humor and restraint. The ease of that transition became his calling card. Behind the scenes, Susman's ambitions ran deeper. In 2013, he co-created Dark Minions, a stop-motion animated comedy with John Ross Bowie. Amazon Studios bought the project, though it never reached full production. Still, the message was clear. Susman wasn't content just performing lines. He wanted to build worlds. By 2025, Kevin Sussman's career had settled into something practical and honest. He wasn't chasing leading roles or nostalgic revivals. He was working consistently across drama, comedy, and television, choosing projects that fit the reality of the modern industry. After the SAG-AFTRA strike, Susman spoke openly about how the shift to streaming changed everything. When The Big Bang Theory aired on CBS syndication, provided long-term financial security. Once the show moved to streaming platforms, that stability largely disappeared. His experience highlighted a broader issue affecting thousands of working actors, not the famous few, but the ones who actually keep television running. That perspective defines where Susman stands now. He is no longer the struggling actor behind a comic book counter, and he never tried to reinvent himself as something he isn't. Instead, he became what Hollywood quietly relies on: a dependable character actor with range, experience, and longevity. Do you remember Sheldon Cooper? Comment 1 if you want the next part to reveal where he is now and what his life looks like today. Jim Parsons. Jim Parsons' career is often described as fearless, but the truth is more precise. It's intentional. Every major move he made after The Big Bang Theory was less about ambition and more about timing boundaries and knowing when to walk away. Parsons spent years grinding through auditions, commercials, and theater work before landing the role that would define a generation. In 2007, he was cast as Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory, a socially awkward, hyper-intelligent physicist who could have easily become a caricature. Instead, Parsons gave Sheldon precision, vulnerability, and rhythm. Over 12 seasons, he won 4 Primetime Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe, becoming one of the most recognizable characters in television history. At his peak, Parsons earned $1 million per episode, with total series earnings estimated at $177.7 million. By any industry standard, he had won. Then came the moment that shocked everyone. In 2018, CBS offered Parsons a reported $50 million deal to continue the series. He said no. His decision directly led to the show ending in 2019. Later, Parsons explained it simply: the timing felt right. He didn't want to stay out of fear. He wanted to leave with clarity. Walking away from Sheldon didn't mean cutting ties. Parsons remained deeply involved as narrator and executive producer of Young Sheldon, which ran until 2024, allowing him to stay connected without repeating himself. Post-Big Bang, Parsons leaned sharply into drama and theater. In 2020, he starred in Hollywood, earning an Emmy nomination for his portrayal of a ruthless talent agent. In 2022, he delivered one of his most emotionally restrained performances in, spoiler alert, based on journalist Michael Ausiello's memoir. By 2024, Parsons returned to his roots: Broadway. He took on the role of the stage manager in Our Town at the Ethel Barrymore Theater, a part built on restraint, control, and authority. That same year, he appeared alongside Jessica Lange in Paula Vogel's Mother play, reinforcing his commitment to theater as a long-term artistic home. Behind the scenes, Parsons found equal purpose. In 2015, he and his husband Todd Spiewak founded That's Wonderful Productions, focusing on stories centered on underrepresented voices. Their projects include special and Emmy-nominated show about a gay man with cerebral palsy, proof that Parsons' influence extended far beyond acting. In his personal life, Parsons remains deliberately private. Married since 2017, he and Spiewak have chosen not to have children, prioritizing creative partnership and balance over public expectation. As for returning to Sheldon, Parsons has been clear, a full revival is unlikely. He's joked it would require a resurrection. Still, he hasn't completely ruled out a brief guest appearance on his terms. By 2025, Jim Parsons isn't chasing relevance. He doesn't need to. He exited television's biggest stage at its peak and rebuilt his career around theater storytelling and control. He didn't leave The Big Bang Theory because he had nowhere to go. He left because he knew exactly where he was headed. And that clarity, more than awards or money, may be his greatest role yet. Kaley Cuoco. For more than a decade, Kaley Cuoco lived inside a role that millions felt they knew personally. When it ended, she didn't look back, she recalibrated. Cuoco entered Hollywood early, but real recognition arrived in 2007 with The Big Bang Theory. As Penny, she wasn't written to be the smartest person in the room, but she became its emotional center. Cuoco's instincts, natural timing, grounded reactions, and an ability to soften the show's sharp edges turned Penny into a cultural constant. When the series wrapped in 2019, the safety net disappeared. Cuoco has since admitted she feared being frozen in place by Penny's success. Rather than waiting for offers that felt familiar, she chose autonomy. She launched Norman Productions and went searching for discomfort. That discomfort arrived quickly with The Flight Attendant. Playing Cassie Bowden meant chaos, addiction, paranoia, physical exhaustion, and emotional collapse. It was aggressive, messy work, and it demanded something Cuoco had rarely been asked to show on screen. The gamble paid off. The series became a breakout hit and earned her major award nominations, signaling that she could carry a project on her own terms. Around the same time, she stepped into animation, voicing Harley Quinn beginning in 2019. The performance was sharp, unhinged, and unapologetic, stripping away any lingering expectation that Cuoco would remain safely likable. The show's success only reinforced her shift toward bolder material. Her post-Big Bang choices didn't follow a neat pattern. A high-concept romantic comedy, Meet Cute 2022. A dark, true crime-inspired comedy in 2023. Some critics saw overlap in tone, but Cuoco seemed unconcerned. The goal wasn't reinvention for optics, it was momentum through risk. Privately, the final years of The Big Bang Theory were complicated. In 2017, salary negotiations created tension when core cast members took pay cuts to elevate others. Then, without warning, Jim Parsons announced his exit in 2018, effectively ending the show. Cuoco later said the decision blindsided her. She also spoke openly about disagreeing with Penny's final arc, particularly the surprise pregnancy, which she felt conflicted with the character's growth. By 2025, Cuoco finds herself facing a different kind of test. She is preparing to portray Doris Day in an upcoming biographical series, a role tied to Hollywood legacy, restraint, and emotional precision. Success would mark a clear shift away from contemporary comedy and into classic dramatic territory. Sara Gilbert. Born on January 29, 1975 in Santa Monica, California. Gilbert became famous at a young age as Darlene Connor on Roseanne. Darlene wasn't the typical TV teen, she was sharp, sarcastic, intellectually intimidating. Audiences connected instantly. Critics did too. Gilbert earned 2 Emmy nominations, and by the time the original series ended in 1997, she was already seen as one of the most distinctive young actors on television. But fame never fully defined her. In a move few child stars make, Gilbert stepped back and enrolled at Yale University, graduating magna cum laude in 1997 with a degree in art. That decision set the tone for everything that followed. She would not be owned by Hollywood. Years later, she joined The Big Bang Theory as Leslie Winkle, a brilliant physicist and Leonard Hofstadter's early love interest. Leslie's blunt intelligence and biting comebacks made her instantly memorable. She was briefly promoted to the main cast, but the writers struggled to integrate her into the long-term ensemble, and the character was eventually reduced to guest appearances. Even so, Leslie remained a fan favorite, proof that Gilbert could leave a mark without dominating screen time. Her influence extended far beyond acting. In 2010, Gilbert co-created The Talk, a daytime panel show centered on women discussing culture, politics, and family. The show became a major success, winning multiple daytime Emmy Awards. Gilbert served as both co-host and executive producer for nearly a decade, quietly shaping one of CBS's most durable daytime franchises before stepping away in 2019. That same year marked one of the most explosive chapters of her career. When Roseanne Barr posted a racist tweet, ABC canceled the revived Roseanne despite massive ratings. Gilbert publicly condemned the remarks, stating they did not reflect the values of the cast or crew. Barr responded by blaming Gilbert for the cancellation, igniting a very public feud. The fallout was brutal, but Gilbert moved forward, helping launch The Conners, a spin-off that continued the story without Barr. The show survived, and that alone spoke volumes. Beyond television, Gilbert explored film Poison Ivy, writing in Cars with Boys, guest starred on series like ER Grey's Anatomy and Atypical, and co-founded the production company Sarah Plus Tom with Tom Werner. She also became an executive producer on upcoming projects, shifting more of her energy behind the camera. Outside Hollywood, Gilbert's life is just as intentional. A Yale-trained photographer, she has exhibited her work internationally and remains a vocal advocate for sustainability and environmental responsibility. She rarely courts attention, preferring control over visibility. By 2025, Sara Gilbert is no longer defined by any single role, not Darlene, not Leslie, not even The Talk. She is a creator, a producer, and a survivor of one of the most public implosions in modern television history. Her career isn't loud, it's resilient. And in an industry that often punishes women for speaking up, Sara Gilbert's longevity sends a very clear message. You don't have to win every battle to outlast the war. It seems like the entire cast of The Big Bang Theory went on to have successful careers after the show. But do you know who didn't? Comment the name of the cast member you think struggled after the series ended and let us know. Simon Helberg. Born on December 9, 1980 in Los Angeles. Helberg grew up around comedy and performance, but his path into the industry was anything but guaranteed. Before The Big Bang Theory, he was just another working actor moving between small film roles, television guest spots, and improv stages, trying to gain traction. That traction arrived in 2007 with Howard Wolowitz, an overconfident aerospace engineer with questionable fashion choices and a voice just loud enough to be unforgettable. For 12 seasons, Helberg leaned fully into the character's excess, transforming Howard from a punchline into someone oddly vulnerable. By the time the series ended in 2019, Howard wasn't just comic relief, he was part of the show's emotional core. When the cameras stopped, Helberg made a sharp turn away from sitcom comfort. Instead of staying on television, he chose unpredictability. In 2021, he starred in Annette, directed by Leos Carax, alongside Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard. Helberg played the accompanist, a quiet, unsettling pianist who hovered at the edges of the story. The role was restrained, strange, and intentionally uncomfortable, nothing like Howard. His commitment went so far that he obtained French citizenship to help secure funding for the film, a move that spoke volumes about how seriously he took the project. Critics noticed the performance reframed him overnight. Helberg didn't abandon television completely. He later appeared on Poker Face in a guest role that blended offbeat humor with subtle menace, proof that his comic instincts were still razor-sharp, just better controlled. Long before The Big Bang Theory, Helberg had already shown dramatic range. His performance as Cosme McMoon in Florence Foster Jenkins earned him a Golden Globe nomination, a reminder that Howard Wolowitz was never the limit of his ability, only the most visible chapter. Off-screen, Helberg's life has remained unusually stable by Hollywood standards. He married actress Jocelyn Town in 2007, the same year The Big Bang Theory premiered. Together they have 2 children. In 2023, the couple quietly listed their Los Angeles home, a move that sparked speculation but no public explanation, consistent with Helberg's preference for privacy. Behind the laughter, his time on The Big Bang Theory was not without struggle. During the show's early years, Helberg battled obsessive-compulsive disorder and severe anxiety challenges. He later discussed openly to highlight how mental health struggles can coexist with professional success. One of the strangest revelations of his career came long after the show ended. In 2022, Helberg learned that he had not been the first choice for Howard Wolowitz. The role was initially offered to Kevin Susman, who had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. The knowledge was shocking but also clarifying, a reminder of how close success can come to never happening at all. Simon Helberg didn't reinvent himself after The Big Bang Theory. He redirected himself. He traded comfort for credibility, noise for precision, and certainty for risk. And in doing so, he proved that sometimes the quietest turns lead to the most lasting work. Johnny Galecki. Galecki was a working actor long before The Big Bang Theory ever existed. By the time he became Leonard Hofstadter in 2007, he already understood the cost of longevity in Hollywood. Leonard, the anxious physicist forever caught between intellect and insecurity, became one of television's most recognizable characters, and Galecki carried the role for 12 seasons until the show ended in 2019. When it was over, Galecki didn't rush to replace it. His first move was familiar, but brief. He returned as David Healy on The Conners, revisiting a character he first played decades earlier on Roseanne. The appearance gave audiences closure, but it wasn't a long-term commitment. Acting was no longer the only focus. Instead, Galecki shifted behind the camera. One of his most personal projects was A-OK, a sitcom set in 1991 about a struggling early internet startup. He co-created the series with John Enbaum and served as an executive producer. The move signaled a change. Galecki was more interested in shaping stories than starring in them. He didn't disappear entirely. Galecki continued taking roles in independent films, choosing smaller character-driven projects rather than studio productions. The pattern was intentional. He wanted challenge without exposure, craft without noise. Off-screen, his life changed even more dramatically. In 2019, he welcomed a son, Avery, with Elena Meyer. The relationship ended in 2020, but fatherhood reshaped his priorities. A few years later, he married Morgan Galecki, and in 2023, the couple welcomed a daughter, Una. Around the same time, Galecki left Los Angeles and moved to Nashville, trading industry proximity for privacy. Behind the scenes of The Big Bang Theory, Galecki had quietly dealt with serious challenges. In 2011, he was diagnosed with Bell's palsy, a condition causing temporary facial paralysis. He continued working through numbness and drooping without public acknowledgement, determined not to disrupt production. He was also unafraid to speak out. After the 2018 Florida school shooting, Galecki publicly supported gun control legislation. The response was swift and hostile. He lost thousands of followers, but he never retracted his stance. And then there were the oddities. Over 12 years on set, Galecki secretly stuck used chewing gum on a hidden wall, an unglamorous ritual later revealed by co-star Kunal Nayyar. He also admitted to being the only cast member who had sex in his dressing room during the show's entire run, a confession that stunned fans and colleagues alike. By 2025, Johnny Galecki isn't measuring success by visibility. He has restructured his career around family privacy and selective creativity. He still works, but only when the project fits the life he chose. He didn't fade away after The Big Bang Theory. He stepped back. And in an industry that rarely allows that choice, Johnny Galecki took it anyway. Kunal Nayyar. Kunal Nayyar spent 12 years playing the quietest man in the room. When the laughter stopped, he chose to do the opposite, take risks. Born on April 30th, 1981 in London and raised in New Delhi, Nayyar came to the US as an immigrant actor with an accent Hollywood didn't always know what to do with. That changed in 2007 when he was cast as Rauch Kuthrapalli on The Big Bang Theory. Raj's social anxiety and emotional vulnerability made him instantly recognizable, and Nayyar carried the role through all 12 seasons until the show ended in 2019. Afterward, he avoided the easy path. No new sitcom, no familiar rhythm. Instead, Nayyar stunned audiences in Criminal UK, playing Sandeep Singh, a convicted serial killer. The performance was cold-controlled and unsettling, everything Rauch wasn't. Critics took notice, and in 2021, Nayyar earned a BAFTA TV nomination, marking one of the most dramatic pivots of any Big Bang alum. He followed that with Suspicion, acting opposite Uma Thurman in a tense, grounded thriller that reinforced his move toward darker, more serious material. Comedy didn't disappear, but it became selective. In 2024, he reunited with Melissa Rauch on Night Court, and appeared in the romantic comedy How to Date Billy Walsh, lighter roles chosen by design, not habit. One of his most ambitious projects is still ahead: Christmas Karma, a Bollywood-style musical adaptation of A Christmas Carol where Nayyar will play Scrooge. The role blends music, cultural identity, and reinvention, an echo of his own career. Beyond acting, Nayyar has explored writing and theater. His memoir, Yes, My Accent Is Real, chronicled his immigrant experience in Hollywood, while stage work on Broadway and the West End proved his range beyond television. His career has also seen controversy, including backlash over a Big Bang Theory line that resurfaced years later, but Nayyar chose not to amplify the noise. By 2025, Kunal Nayyar is no longer defined by Rauch's silence. He reshaped his career by stepping into discomfort and letting the work speak. Melissa Rauch. Melissa Rauch never planned on becoming a sitcom star. When fame arrived, she made sure it wouldn't be the finish line. Born on June 23, 1980 in New Jersey, Rauch was a struggling comedian and actress when she joined The Big Bang Theory in 2009 as Bernadette Rostenkowski-Wolowitz. Her high-pitched voice and sharp delivery quickly set her apart, turning Bernadette into a fan favorite. What began as a recurring role grew into a decade-long run, carrying her through the show's final season in 2019. But Rauch never wanted to be boxed in by sitcom comfort. While still on The Big Bang Theory, she took a major risk with The Bronze, a dark, abrasive film she co-wrote, co-produced, and starred in. She played a bitter former Olympic gymnast clinging to past glory, a role completely opposite Bernadette. Studio executives initially wanted a more recognizable film star, but Rauch fought for the lead and won. Reviews were mixed, but her performance stood out as fearless and raw. Voice acting became another outlet. In 2017, she voiced Harley Quinn in Batman, and Harley Quinn fulfilling a longtime dream and bringing her own chaotic energy to the iconic character. After The Big Bang Theory ended, Rauch slowed down, not out of uncertainty but choice. She focused on family with her husband, writer-producer Winston Rauch, welcoming children in 2017 and 2020. When she returned to television, it was on her terms. In 2023, Rauch re-emerged as the lead of Night Court on NBC, playing Judge Abby Stone, daughter of the original series Judge. She also served as an executive producer. The revival was a success, praised for balancing nostalgia with emotional depth, particularly Abby's struggle with alcoholism, which added weight beneath the comedy. Beyond acting, Rauch co-runs January Productions with her husband and co-founded Oscar's Kids, a non-profit supporting children with cancer. By 2025, Melissa Rauch is no longer defined by Bernadette. She's a creator, producer, and performer who proved she could carry comedy, drama, and leadership at once. She didn't wait for permission to grow. She built the space herself and stepped into it.